In this second session of the week 8, we will talk about the culinary identity and Zainichi Koreans. And as I briefly mentioned, in Japanese culinary culture, chili pepper, which Japanese call togarashi, and garlic, which Japanese call ninniku, they were not the part of Japanese diet that much. But for Koreans, they were the most important ingredients in Korean food, especially for kimchi and other food. So for Koreans in Japan, chili pepper and garlic, these two things really symbolized their culinary identity. That's why today, when you go Koreatowns in Japan, normally the Korean shops, but also at the entry of the Koreatown, you would see the symbols with chili pepper and garlic together. And anyone who see that, they know, aha, this is Koreatown. And for Koreans, to Chinese people, that gives comfort that this is my town. So chili pepper and garlic, they are the signs and symbols of Korean culinary culture and Koreatowns in Japan. And that's because, as I said, Koreans use these two ingredients a lot, but Japanese don't. As a matter of fact, Japanese, they don't like them at all. They used to. And because of the smell of kimchi and ninniku. So often Japanese would say, even though Japanese are very polite people, they would say that, oh, ninniku, kusai, ninniku kusai, or the smell of garlic, they must be Koreans or something, when they are really rude. So Koreans grew up hearing that comment. And as a reaction against this racism and discrimination, many Koreans stuck together and they kept this food, and that became a part of their political identity. And that's quite common. When a minority group, when they are severely discriminated, they have two strategies in general. Like one is, okay, so I try to hide my identity and try to assimilate to the mainstream society. So in this case, maybe these Koreans might have chosen, okay, I don't eat garlic, I don't eat kimchi. However, the other strategy is that I eat it and I make it actively as my identity. And so in this case, a lot of Koreans, especially Soren Koreans, they actively used this chili pepper and garlic and kimchi as the symbol of themselves. Any food would change, would be localized, as Japanese sushi was localized in America very much in the hands of Korean Americans, and so was kimchi as well. Japanese society changed a lot from between the end of the war and today. And particularly as Japanese society became so prosperous through the 1970s and 80s, when Japan became the second largest economy in the world, just after America. Of course, today, Japan lost that status, but still Japan is the third largest economy in the whole world after US and China. But until the end of 1980s and early 1990s, still Japan was the second largest economy, and there were some scholars who predicted that Japan would surpass America. Well, that didn't happen. However, in early 1990s or late 1980s, it was very clear that if Japanese sell Tokyo, just the city of entire Tokyo, they could buy entire America because of the real estate price differences and exchange rates and so on. That's the interesting thing to hear today, because today the Japanese economic power is way, way weaker than 3 decades ago. But anyway, by the late 1980s, Japanese people become more generous about their life and world, because now Japan is one of the most powerful and very richest country in the world. And Japanese society became more diverse in terms of ideologies and cultures and so on, and more Japanese would enjoy exotic foreign food. So it was at the time that more Japanese came to enjoy and appreciate spicy food from other countries. And now that was a time that Korean kimchi became widely spread out and was consumed by the members of the mainstream Japanese society. And of course, but that kimchi that Japanese enjoyed, which they call kimuchi, well, that's a Japanese way of pronouncing kimchi. The kimchi is different from the contemporary South Korean kimchi. In what way? Because kimchi is, they don't use fermented fish sauce. And unlike kimchi. And also they use much less garlic and understandably much less chili pepper. And in the end, so kimchi compared to kimchi, real Korean kimchi tastes a little bit sweeter than kimchi and a little bit sour because they use vinegar. So kimchi is Zainichi Koreans' adaptation to the Japanese culinary culture. And that's quite common. As we have talked about it, about the food so far, any food, like Italian pizza, was localized in America and became American pizza. And the same thing, the Mexican taco was localized in America and it became the American taco. The same, Korean kimchi, original kimchi, was transformed in Japan and localized, and that's kimchi. Kimchi is very popular in today Japan, and so whenever you go to market, and it's easy to find the kimchi in Japanese supermarket, but particularly in Koreatowns, you see wide variety of kimchi sold. And the photo at the bottom, that's I took this photo in Tsuruhashi, Osaka several years ago at a banchan, the side dishes shop, and you will see kimchi, all kinds of kimchi, bechu kimchi, the cabbage kimchi, but also oi sobagi and all these things. And they taste just like the same kimchi you taste in South Korea. They also sell the Japanized kimchi as well. And because so many people want to use kimchi as a sauce, the kimchi taste as a sauce at home. So this small company, Momoya, it's a Korean company, and they sell the kimchi sauce, like a kimchi sauce, okay, in the bottle. And another, the symbol of Korean culinary culture in Japan is makgeolli. Well, Japanese call it maggeolli, but that's the rice wine, the milky rice wine that used to be an alcoholic drink for ordinary farmers in traditional Korea. Somehow, this humble alcoholic beverage became very popular in South Korea in 1970s and 80s. And it became even more popular by 1990s. So it's same that in Japan also there were increasing number of people who were used to this makgeolli. So today, both Japanese supermarkets and online shops such as Amazon, which is the number one, the online shopping mall in Japan, you can find all kinds of makgeolli, okay, as you see in the image. And today, together with these alcoholic drinks, including soju, by the way, is yakiniku, which we will talk about. And yakiniku is a big symbol for the Korean culinary culture in Japan, together with horomonyaki, which we will talk about later in today. Okay, so that I will conclude my second session, in which I talked about what kind of food represents Zainichi Koreans in Japan through their history, and what kind of food are typically considered Korean food in Japan. And now that's kimchi, and that's also ingredients such as chili pepper and garlic, and makgeolli, and yakiniku, the grilled beef or other meat, which we will talk about in our third session.